Something's going on in there. Yeah, it's got a spring in it. What the what? Hey guys, so in my latest Fiddly Bits video I said I would go through this tooling lot that I recently purchased. Mostly turret lathe stuff and a few things like this. Probably going to be pretty boring to a bunch of you, but if you want to look through this and you have a turret lathe or can use some of this tooling for something else, and as a subscriber I will give you a really good deal on it. So I'm probably not going to do a huge amount of commentary during this video. You can see the measurements down here to get a rough measurement. So first up is this Almond Chuck. I will say that I am most likely going to keep this chuck, but I just thought I'd show you just to document it. You can see it has some interesting cut jaws. It is 5/8. It moves really nice. I've been doing a little research on Almond, and they apparently had a large lawsuit with Jacobs. I think around the 20s or 30s, and Jacobs sued them for using a similar patent or a similar mechanism. The arbor will be for sale. It is an Albrecht made in Germany, and it is MT4 to J6 taper for the chuck. Also have a Jacobs number 6A. It's a 1/2-inch chuck. It's got some wear in it, but it moves nice. Now I will say that this has a stub Jacobs taper on it that is 1 inch. It's got a 1-inch stub taper. I believe that the Jacobs taper is actually it's either a number 6 or a 33. It does not say on the actual chuck itself. The stub is for sale at this point. I'm going to check out and see if I want to keep I already have a 6A, but I want to see if I want to keep one or the other, depending on which one's better. As part of this, with both of these chucks, I have already tried a little bit to remove these, the stub and the arbor. This one actually has a hole through it, and I have tried pounding that thing out of there, and it's not coming. So I'm going to make some wedges to go in. If anybody else has any tricks of removing these, I've taken some apart before and not had this much trouble. These both are in there. Both of these are in there very well. So there's those chucks. There's also a smaller chuck. It's a Jacobs Multicraft. It's 5/64 to a 1/2 inch, or 2 to 13 millimeter, and it has a screw fitting that is 1/2-20. It's a little rough. It also has that interesting jaw. This is not something that I see myself needing. I do have a little drill press that I've been thinking about restoring that this might go on, but at the moment it's for sale. Keep moving my thing here. We have an R&L number 1 self-releasing tap holder with a sprag clutch in it, and this diameter is probably 5/8. Yeah, it's 5/8, and the back diameter is 3/4. We have a Brown & Sharp number 20, a tangential die head, and I'm not quite sure how these are supposed to work. This also has a 3/4 shank, straight shank, and looks like the die would actually be 13/16. Does that make sense? It's kind of an odd size there. So next I have these tooling holders that have 5/8 for the tool and have 3/4 inch shanks. Now I only have, as far as matching sets, I only have 2 of the shank sections that are complete then, and then 2 of the other sections. And these are not marked, and they are about 3 inches long altogether. And then I have a couple oddballs here that all have kind of different, they all have slightly different bolt lengths. These 2 are pretty much matching. Yeah, these 2 match. These 2 match. They have 3/4 inch shanks as well. Their bore, or their hole spacing, is approximately 1 7/8. This one is actually marked AMCAM. AMCAM. Its spacing is maybe 1 5/8. These obviously would have to have the other section, the other tool section made for them, or unless you already have some. I have these three oddballs where these two have the same hole spacing as opposed to this one. These have 5/8 shanks and their hole spacing is 1.38, probably 1.375, probably 1 3/8. These two are 1 3/8. And then this guy, it's like 1 1/4. And then for match sets, we have these three with are all matched and complete, roughly complete. This one still has a little drill bit in it and its little collet. But these are also 5/8 shank, and I'm not going to measure the hole spacing because they're all complete, so you can use them as is. And they're about 2 inches long. And then we got this piece. When I first looked at this, I thought it was just some sort of fancy pole holder. But I do think it's a piece of tooling of some sort because it has this groove in the back, which kind of lines up with some other pieces that have this thing in it, which would go in like a T-slot. Not sure. Just not sure on that one. It's approximately 4.5 inches long and about 2 inches tall. We've got this straight shank adapter, which is 1.5, and then the shank inside is MT4. Probably need to write that on it. So it's 1.5 to MT4. Well-made piece, and the taper in there is really nice. Then we got a couple really oddball little pieces. These look like some sort of tool. This has actually a really nice finish on it. It's got color hardening on it. This is a Watson Tool Company 200E, and again, I have no idea how these work. This is a Brown & Sharp 00L, and both of these have 5/8 shanks. Now this is called a cutoff blade holder. It is a 36W, 36WB, or 36W cutoff holder, made in Detroit, and John Milton Lure's patent. It obviously mounts this direction because it has the T-slot piece down here. So it mounts like this, and then it's got little grips to grip what appears to be, this looks like an angled slot for a cutoff blade. We have a Alco Tool Company holds a tap, and I think that it is actually missing one of these jaws. Well, I know that it is missing one of these jaws, unfortunately. So you'd have to have the other identical tool or make one of those jaws, but they are spring loaded. The shank is 3/4, and the shank section is actually marked BPT Connecticut USA, and the other section is marked Alco Tool Company Bridgeport Connecticut. And overall on it is about 3 1/4 inches long. We have just a kind of a half round block here. Honestly, this is probably, I think this is part of another tool. This is probably going to turn into like a little bench block for me, I think. But it is not marked. It looks a little bit like it may have been shop made. It's nicely made, but not quite sure what that's for. This block is, I just believe, some sort of odd tool holder. It's got a very nice adjustment screw up there, but I believe it would be mounted this direction, so this would be the bottom, because again, here's a spot for a T-slot block. I'm not sure why the tool holder has this curve in it, but it's a nicely made piece, and it is not marked. These are Brown & Sharp number 20 low backs, and they are cutoff blade holders. This one is missing the clamp. You see the cutoff blade holder groove, and they they sit low. This would be the bottom. Again, here's the T-slot. So they would sit like this. They're about 3 1/4 inches long, and they are left and right. So, but they are mirror images of one another. We have a similar one, also missing the top clamp. This is a Brown & Sharp 11A, and this is not a low back, as you can see. It's a little bit taller than the other ones. It sits, about 2 inches tall, and it also missing its clamp, but it holds the same size of cutoff blade, which is, expect that to be 3/4, but it's actually a little under 3/4. We have this really weird guy, and no, this curve does not fit that curve piece I was just doing, but this is, I thought this was marked, yeah. This is actually marked BSA Tools, ZG58-1326. And again, I think it mounts this direction, so this would be the bottom, because it fits another one of those little blocks. A little bit better than the other one. Actually, that's a pretty good fit. And these are like little T-slot blocks. It has a movable piece here, kind of a guillotine effect. This hole would mount it down. This screw takes out the guillotine part, and it does have like a half round. Again, I think this is probably missing something. Probably had some sort of rotating piece on here. I'm not sure what the little piece here is all about, but interesting that it is a BSA. It is BSA branded tool. I don't know when BSA stopped making tooling, or if they ever stopped making tooling, but I know that they were making. I know that they've been making. They were making rifles since the turn of the century, at least. Also a heavy piece, and it is approximately 3 1/2, 2 inches, 2 inches tall. I'm not going to dwell on these too much, but I've showed these in the other video. This one is marked BMW. They appear to be identical, except the one marked is actually has this sort of wedge thing in it, which might be the perfect angle for me to use as a wedge for making those Jacob's taper wedges. And some tiny little T-nuts. This is probably just going to become shop clutter. These tiny little T-nuts might come in handy, but I thought I'd show these in case anybody really had any interest in them. This guy I also kind of showed in the other video. This is a 2LT by Boyer and Schultz. Screw forming, I'm imagining, and I do think it is missing some pieces. You see here it has a dovetail and a screw section that was probably something moved in and out here, and has a tool holder on this side. All this is sort of adjustable. The shaft on it is 750, so it's 3/4 inch shaft. This piece actually comes up and down in its own little slot here, and it is adjustable, so it's pretty fine adjustable actually. So the tool can be adjusted up and down depending on where it's going to cut the piece going into there. And that opening is 1 inch. Anyway, that's a Boyer Schultz 2LT. All right, we also have this guy, which is a Brown & Sharp 20 FB. Stop shaking. And I just pulled this other little knick-knack part out that I couldn't identify, and I kind of think this probably goes to this somehow. The metal finish is very similar. The machining's similar. I'm going to kind of keep these together. I don't know for sure, but they look awfully similar to one another. Like I said, Brown & Sharp 20 FB. It's got a tooling holder here, which is also adjustable. 3/4 inch shank, 3/4 inch hole in the middle. Probably, you know, again, some sort of screw forming tool to put, you know, you can adjust it to put a shoulder at a certain length on a bolt or something like that. Alright, next up we have these Brown & Sharp number 20 EA. Everything's number 20 with Brown & Sharp. That's got to be really confusing. There must be some reason for that. This is EA and DA, and this is the ones that have the, yeah, this is where that goes. So these are left and right. They are the same tool, but again, they are left and right. And they would hold a large piece of tooling in here. Large pieces, they're approximately 3 inches long, 2 inches tall. That is number 20 DA and EA. Again, a matched set, but left and right. Tooling blocks. That's what they're supposed to be called, I think. Alright, next up I have various sizes of these guys. These look like little tooling holders that would go into a turret. And we have all different sizes. These two are 3/4 inch shank, these two are 1/2 inch shank. This one is actually 1 1/4 inch shank, or 1 1/8. Yeah, 1 1/8 inch shank. All made by R&L, they're all marked. They're not numbered, but they're all marked R&L. And of course they hold different size tooling as well. The small ones hold 3/8. The small ones hold 3/8. These probably hold a half, and this is probably 3/4 or 7/8, 3/4. So these two are matching, even though this one's shorter. It's been cut down for some reason. These two match, and then I have a single one of these. All R&L, and they all have a slight angle to them. Just as an aside, I am keeping these two little 4-inch blocks. Well, they're actually 3-inch. These 3-inch angle blocks. This is a match set, and I did identify these. These are made by Eon, E-I-O-N, and they are actually made in Japan. I completely misread the thing there. In the bucket, which I've hardly even pulled everything out of yet, we have these guys, which are more of those number 20 Brown and Sharps, EA and DA, left and rights. Various states, some of them don't have screws, some of them do, some of them don't have the little block in the bottom, this little block here. It's kind of tight in here right now with all this crap. Okay, we have this guy, which is a 4 3/4 inch, yeah, about a 4 3/4 inch, and Max at Max's Swan Valley Machine Shop kind of identified this one for me. This is a back tool post, so you would pull this in from the back side. It's essentially gives you 2 tool posts on your machine, and it's got a big T-nut on it. It is not marked, but that is obviously what it is. I saw some pictures of them as well. Max identified that one for sure. Another Brown and Sharp. Got tons of these Brown and Sharp 20s, BA and DA, or EA and DA. And we got this guy, which is I think that it is a cutoff blade holder, and this would be the bottom. See that this would reference into the T slot. This wedge would allow you to hold different size the cutoff blade. And looking at this thing, I guess it could go either way. It could also be, this could be a guide, so it would sit this direction and it would move at an angle into, yeah, I'm waffling, I have no idea. And it is approximately 3.5 inches long and 3 inches wide, 2 3/4 wide. But this guy's pretty hammered up, and in fact has a really bad burr right there, which I need to take care of. It does have a little T-nut that's built into the screw. It's actually, the screw is the T-nut, which is nice, and I believe it just holds a piece of tooling. I'm not sure exactly where it functions on the machine, but that's obviously what it does. It holds with a tool in here, and here's your reference for a T-slot. At this guy, which is a kind of similar to this piece, I think these probably have some sort of similar function. This looks like it probably held again a cutoff blade or some sort of special tool because of the angle that it is situated. Again, this is pretty hammered up, and unless somebody really needed it, this is probably going to end up being some sort of bench anvil or the like. If this guy, which I kind of showed in the original video, that has a piece of what I think is form tooling in it, with a half round on it or a quarter round on it. That's a big piece of tooling. I need to get this out of here actually. This piece is interesting because I have no idea how they held it down. It doesn't have a through hole in it. It's got this one hole right here. Really nice machining on this thing. You really can't tell because it's so dirty. But I mean, it was, somebody took some pride when they were making this piece of block. The edges are just sharp as a razor, which isn't great, but you know what I mean. Let me take that out. I'll end the video by taking that out. I got one more piece to show you. There were a couple other little pieces, but they're not worth showing. And also the cast piece, which I'm not going to show again. I showed that enough in the other video. This is another very well machined little block. Again, not marked, but I can see how it was mounted. Has a little T-slot reference and then a through bolt. And looks like it held a huge piece of 1 inch, 1 inch by, machining is excellent on this, and it's about 2.5 by 2 inches and about 2 inches tall. I don't think there's a lot of guys out there that are still using turret lathes, but I may have just bought a bunch of scrap metal. But to me, what I spent on all this, I could have bought these nice Japanese angles for that, especially when you add in the chucks and whatnot. So something's going on in there. Yeah, it's got a spring in it. What the what? This is not what I thought at all. It's got a mangled spring in it. Oh, that tooling is, I mean, it's fit in there. It is absolutely fit in there. You know, maybe that's not tooling. That looks like some sort of adjustment. Okay, I have no idea what this is now. I thought I had a good idea of what it was, but I'm not so sure now. This does not look like a piece of high-speed steel, or it's no piece of high-speed steel I've ever seen with a slot cut in it. It is not marked. How weird is that? Totally different than what I thought it was going to be. And the fit, I mean, it's nearly an interference fit. How they got that fit. I mean, it is perfect. What's the fit called where it's 1-to-1? It's not 1-to-1. What's the fit called where it's not interference and it's not a slip? I'll put it up on this. I'll have to look it up later and put it up on the screen. I really think that there is. It's slipping my mind right now. I mean, it is absolutely perfect in there. That's impressive. If there wasn't that little bit of corrosion and whatnot, I could get that perfect. If I'm gonna get it perfectly lined up, I could push it in by hand. But it is tight. I mean, it is really a tight fit. I'm sorry, I'm waffling on here. This sort of stuff just impresses the hell out of me. I'm sure if you're watching this channel, you're probably the same way. You're probably like, damn, that's an impressive fit. Yeah, that's an impressive fit, I gotta say. So if you know what this is, let me know if you know what any of this stuff is. Let me know. I have no idea, but I'm glad I took that piece off because that's interesting. I'll put it back, sort of put it back together. This spring was just kind of stuck in here like this. It goes this way. I'm not going to bore you with me playing with this, but basically I'm just going to stuff this spring back in there and put this cap back on just to keep it all as one piece. So anyway, I appreciate you watching. I know this is a boring video, and I know that a lot of people have way tuned out before now. But I just wanted to put this out there in case anybody can use any of this stuff, and just to give me a reference. And you know, if I didn't say it at the beginning of the video, I don't expect many people to watch this far. But if you have watched this far,